Hello, lovely souls. Welcome back to the Awakening to Your Soul Self podcast. My guest today is Marvin L. Wilkinson. He is a master astrologer, certified hypnotherapist, and author of Soul Fusion Healing, integrating mind, body, and soul. His experience is over 35 years, and he's developed the framework that bridges ancient wisdom, including Native American medicine, teaching with spiritual astrology, modern neuroscience and hypnotherapy to help people heal at the deepest level. Welcome, Marvin.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I always have all my guests start off with telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey up to this point.
Well, my journey started probably at least 50 years ago. I read Think on These Things by Jiddu Krishnamurti, and I realized I could think for myself. And that started me on a metaphysical journey. I got my first reading when I was astrology reading when I was 18 years old. It just blew me away that somebody would know me like
Right?
that. That started me on the journey. I grew up in Virginia Beach, where the Edgar Cayce Foundation is. I did a lot of studying in the Edgar Cayce readings and so on. My spiritual teacher came to me in the 90s. I did a lot of Native American studies. Then one day I told somebody, and of course I was back in the 80s with all us hippies. I started doing regressions, and that was quite fun and enlightening. Then I told somebody I was doing a reading, and I said, you ought to do a regression, get back what's in the subconscious mind. And they didn't know where they could find one. I said, oh, heck, I'll do it. I read a book about the new regression therapy, and it said something about a hypnosis course. I said, I'd never heard of that. So I studied hypnosis about 14 years ago. I've since been about 500 hours of courses and different conflicts people have. And of course, I practice. That's what my healing practice is all about.
Beautiful. So you describe subconscious patterns as not being random, but what's actually written for the soul. Can you kind of go into that a little bit for the listeners?
Well, there's always the purpose of life is to become self-realized. To do that, we have to have events that show us where we're responding in a positive or negative way, or from an old pattern of perspective and perception that's in error with our authentic self, our self-realized self. And in so doing, this helps us it helps us grow and helps us gain a different perspective and become more self-realized as we go through events in life, instead of doing the analytical, critical mind thinking, which makes everything duality and black and white.
Interesting. What does the soul's blueprint kind of look like, and what shapes and patterns or noise that we have in our everyday life? Does that affect our blueprint?
Well, a blueprint would be like the basic pattern of the soul, right?
Yeah.
We all have a blueprint of a multitude of lifetimes that we've made choices that were not in alignment with our authentic self. So anytime that we get into negative situations, or we don't evaluate negative situations in a positive light, use things as opportunities, or address situations that would give us a different perspective about things, there's a fragmentation. That fragmentation will occur to where it's separate pieces of our soul then are disconnected from our authentic beings. So we have to ultimately put back together the loss and the splitting or disassociation of those parts of consciousness that is come from traumas or a multitude of areas and ways that we experience life.
Interesting. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your work in astrology, because I find that as a fascinating topic, but it's also a very vast topic. Could you give the listeners kind of like a one-on-one astrology information?
Well, the best way to think of astrology is about a multitude of energies that you bring in with you at the moment of your birth. So
Okay.
astrology looks at energy as what's going on instead of looking at it from a thinking mind, your critical analytical mind
Right.
of what is going on. Einstein said all is energy, and frequency and vibration is how we're using the energy. So astrology helps us to break down a variety of different energies that astrologers look at your particular map of life and can see how these energies are connected to each other, or coordinate with each other, or in relationship to each other. I like to think of it as when a real astrologer will look at the gestalt, the total picture of
Okay.
an individual. Now, when you come to me with conflicts or you come to me with not completely understanding why certain things are happening in your life, I can look at certain energies that represent those patterns or programming that you've brought in so that you can learn a different perspective perceptions on these different energies and how to better use them, because energy is pure. So the
Yeah.
energy is up to how you choose to use it. People say, well, I have free will. Yeah, you have free will of an attitude. You can have a good attitude or a bad attitude, and that's your free will. Basically, you can have the free will and of how you use your creativity, and that is bestows on everyone is the creative energy that we can all bring in. So astrology is the map of your life that's broken into several different areas that can
Right.
help you understand your life in a much better way, more
Right.
pure way, more authentic way. That's how astrology really helps people, is it's helping people understand how they're using the energy, what may be a better way to use that energy.
Interesting. What would you need for somebody to do an astrology session? What information would somebody need to give you?
Their day of birth.
That's it? That's all you would need for to tune into those energies?
Yeah, because I mean, if you give me the date, and of course, I love to have the time and I like to know where you were born, but so few people, unless they know they want an astrology reading or have done one, know their time of birth. And that tells me a little more about their soul perspective. But their sun sign will tell me how they want to use and grow in this lifetime and what energy you're using to do that. So basically, when I say, like, I have a client come in for a hypnosis that's got
Mhm.
an issue or wants to get some clarity in life about a certain thing, or has trauma, or has a depression, or anything like that, then I just need to know what energy the day they're born. Their birth chart is, I run a birth chart on everybody.
Wonderful. So the date is like the overarching energies. And then if you had the other information, it's kind of like magnifying a little bit more. Is that correct?
Yeah, that'd be a good way to look at it.
So on a soul level, sometimes we get caught in these everyday social patterns that, or certain mindsets that come to mind being a human in the human world. Why is it so hard sometimes to break through patterns or mindsets that we have conditioned to create?
Well, that's it. You're conditioned. See, everybody, one of the things that astrology shows us is when a person comes in, the programming that the mother and the father and the conditioning that needs to be given to a child. That conditioning is installed through growing up as a child up to 7 years old before a child ever really becomes self conscious.
Right.
By the time you get 20 years old, you have the conditioning and programming of your early life, and you take on some of the roles of the mother or the father, or even roles of your childhood experiences with friends and your siblings. before you're the age of 21 years old, you've been told 60,000 times who you are, who they are, what the world is, and your place in it. That means you got the rest of your whole life to decipher what is authentically you and what fits for you and what doesn't. Then you've got to go through the process of reprogramming yourself, which takes consistent work. You don't become enlightened just because you think you have knowledge. You become enlightened because you work at it.
Yeah. 100%. Could you go into a hypnotherapy a little bit? I have not had any experience with it. I think that's an interesting topic to talk about. So can you kind of give us a little bit into that?
Sure. When you see, the conscious mind is responsible for 5% of our reality.
Interesting. Okay.
The subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind.
Right.
It doesn't use language. It uses the body's response. So the conscious mind is connected physically to the physical body. Whatever the mind thinks, that's the world you create, and you create it in the physical body. Well, when the subconscious mind is then made aware of how that physical body is responding to life, well, then it can become a threat, or it can become supportive of you manifesting your more true self. Well, so when the subconscious mind is programmed, conditioned, creates habits to offset some emotions, well, those become the protection that the subconscious mind then gives you when those responses occur. So say like somebody, a cigarette smoker. When you first start smoking cigarettes, you do it because you're cool. You do it because you want to fit in. When you first start, you get a little serotonin dopamine release in the brain, the cocktail that everybody lives for. Well, in about 2 weeks, the subconscious mind goes, oh, well, that ain't exciting anymore.
Yeah.
But then the emotion that now when you pick up a cigarette is now connected to the subconscious, then that is the response that you get for the next 20, 30 years of your life without even thinking about it. You pick up a cigarette anytime that you get a stressor or anxiety, or anytime that you have a physical complication that the subconscious is reading through the vagus nerve and the nerve bundle in your gut, which is what we call the third brain. When you go into hypnosis, what I'm trying to do, and what hypnosis does, is it de-emphasizes your conscious mind, so that your subconscious mind becomes much more relevant and apparent. And the subconscious mind seeks the easiest path to your life. It knows what's good for you. It knows what it wants. But the conscious mind isn't even aware of a higher mind. So now you see the problems.
Yes.
Because the higher mind is the mind that's connected to the soul, to your maker, and to the greater benefit of who you are.
Yeah.
And so when you de-emphasize and disconnect from the conscious mind, you're now into that powerful higher mind. You can make suggestions. So if you think of a problem in the brain is a problem connects to another area of the brain that thinks that's the pathway that the neurons take that then causes a certain kind of response or perception. What you're doing in the subconscious mind is you're disconnecting from that point that is connected and connect it to a new point that now better serves you, that aligns more with your authentic true self. That,
Interesting.
in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
That is so fascinating.
It can cause, I mean, it sounds easy, but it's not. It's disconnecting from what we've known all our life or grew up is as the conditioning and programming is can be a challenge. It's something that you really have to want it and you really have to work at correcting the misperceptions and miscreations of the mind.
So that kind of goes to my next question. It would probably take multiple sessions to create those new rewirings.
I usually do 5 sessions to make the change because I want to get, you see, beliefs are behind all problems. The first thing you've got to be adaptive to is that your beliefs that you've held are probably in error because beliefs are the problem. So if you, I mean, all fears are beliefs. You're making them up.
True.
The conscious mind is really good at making stuff up.
Yes, it is.
We have to get to the place to where you understand what is the belief that's helping you maintain and keep that problem. When you're willing to look at your beliefs, well, then you're open to change. Once you become open to change, well, then it's not a great leap to get the subconscious mind to help you realize that the change is beneficial. Once the subconscious realizes the benefit, well, then that change can occur.
What does a typical first session look like?
Well, the first session is going to basically be, I start off with reading the energies and where the conflict is, whether it's a physical, whether illness, disease, whether it's a habit, whether it's a fear, whether it's a condition of anxieties, which is nothing more than maintaining the past to define the present and why you're doing that. And then we're going to discuss the issue and the conflict that it's causing, and then what belief system you're holding on to it. A lot of times, for me, I like to go through a little hypnosis training. If you allow, see, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. The hypnosis, when you come to a hypnotist, is hetero hypnosis. If you are willing to allow yourself to go into that deep, relaxed state, well, then you get into hypnosis where all magic can happen. But if you're resistant, stubborn, willful, and want to hold on to a fear of hypnosis, maybe, might be, could be, well, then you're going to struggle a little bit and not get as deep as maybe you would like to get, or I would like you to get, so that we can do that suggestibility state to where the subconscious mind is more relevant than the conscious mind.
Yeah. So really it's about the intention of wanting to clear whatever they're wanting to clear. If that intention is not there, then your sessions probably aren't going to do as much effect, correct?
Sure. I mean, but the basic thing is, I mean, the reason you come to a hypnotist is because you've got a problem that nobody else has been able to fix.
Yeah. True. This is very true.
Whether you've been in psychology or psychoanalysis for 10 years, or whether you've been to doctors trying to figure out your medical problems, or whatever it is, the mind is creating the problem.
Yeah.
The only way to deal with with the mind is to deal with the subconscious mind, which now will understand the fix and accept the fix when it sees it. When you give the suggestions of the healing with repetition, it occurs. I mean, people go into, magical healing. I mean, there's lots of people been healed immediately, instantaneous healings. We've all heard of those.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, that's how it occurred. Jesus said what? Go, your faith has healed you. Well, if you were standing in front of Jesus and feeling his frequency and vibration, I would imagine you would have a pretty positive feeling about being able to do what he said you could do. Your faith has healed you. Well, I got a lot of faith now. Well, that's how, I mean, you're looking at working with energy. I mean, when you are just in a thinking mind, everything is polarity. Everything is really
Right.
simple. It's ordinary thinking. And the conscious mind only thinks of one thing at a time.
Right.
But when you are in an energy perception or you're an intuitive self, well, you can see all things are connected. They can be harmonizing and stimulating, or they can be draining or distorted. I mean, when you're in the intuitive self, you're reading energy. You're not being in a dualistic mindset of
Right.
good and bad and so on. So the biggest thing for people that I like to really try to drive home is I mean, we're in a time of quantum physics. We know everything is connected.
Yes.
Einstein said, when I think, I find nothing. When I swim
Right.
in silence, 99 times I discover things.
Yeah.
I mean, it just gives you the idea that when we're in a critical analytical evaluating state, that we're only using our sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste.
Yeah.
But when we're in intuitive creative state, we're using universal energy. We're in a creative
Absolutely.
moment. We're not in a self-aware moment. We're in a creative moment, which is in universal consciousness.
Fascinating. So, with your work with astrology and hypnotherapy, do you ever do them together or are they completely separate?
Oh, I do them together. I mean,
Fascinating.
it's who I am. I mean, you're not going to come sit in my chair and I'm not going to not do astrology. That ain't
Right.
going to happen. I've been doing it 50 some years. I'm in thousands and thousands and thousands of charts. Then I'm going to
Fascinating.
know I'm a master at hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming. I'm going to know what programming and conditioning and all that you're following. And astrology is going to help me understand the energy and how you're using it. Are you being defensive with your Mars energy? Are you being angry with it? Or are you being discovering with it? Are you looking for a new ways
Yeah.
to be creative? There's lots of magic that goes on with using both of them. You can't separate them. I
Right.
mean, I can't because I've been practicing it for 35 plus years.
Amazing. Can we talk a little bit about your book? Because that book seems very fascinating. I'd love people to get a little bit of a taste of the book.
I'm a big quote collector. I've been collecting quotes since I was in my 20s, which is a long, long time ago. But I love the truthisms by Buddhas, by Lazus, by Hermeticism. I mean, there's so much profound truths been shared with humanity through the old self-aware beings and people. And I don't exclude Jesus. And we have people in today's time that are very, very self-aware, that I wanted to not only just use the tools that I use, I wanted to help reinforce those tools through the use of the remarks and sayings of people down through history. One of the most utilized ones that I use is Lazu, 1500 years before Christ. He said,
Yeah.
let reality be reality. I mean,
Right.
how much clearer can that be? Einstein said, there's no such thing as time. Quantum physics says there's no such thing as time. You don't see time. You only
Yeah.
experience what your mind defines it as,
Yeah.
which is the personal conscious, which is what you can feel comfortable with. You're not going to see anything new.
Right.
So I brought together self-talk, the negative talk that we do to ourselves.
Yep.
I wanted to bring together an understanding of how detrimental that is, how we create and manifest our illnesses and our diseases. I wanted to share with people how you can go into the higher mind and find the honesties and the truths to what lifelong questions. The ultimate place to arrive is losing self-identity. You're not separate. When you get into that higher mind and you lose a separateness of identity, this means you're identifying with the universal consciousness. And universal consciousness, all is perfection. There cannot be disease. There cannot be imbalances. This is a place that I like to get people to ascend to that place. One of my favorite memories is a very Christian woman. She was a cardiac nurse. She was very, very steeped in the biblical belief systems. When I said something to her about taking her into the light, she says, "Oh no, I can't go there. I don't like light." I says, "Okay." We had a little discussion about what she may have feared of it. And then I said something about being able to talk to the Christ. And she says, "Oh, I'm not worthy of that."
Wow.
So I did some of my magic with her and taken her into hypnosis and had her go to the magic mirror where I have her see her auric field and so forth. I coached her into seeing the light. And and then she rises, comes right out of hypnosis and says, "I just had a voice speak to me. It said, 'I am always with you, my child.'"
Beautiful.
It changed her life forever.
Wow.
Because now she knows that the Christ is accessible. It lives within her, and she is never, ever, ever disconnected. This is what we all need to understand. Our higher
100%.
consciousness does not disconnect. We are in that disconnection, then we have the complications of what we call a normal life. But we are never, ever, ever disconnected. We always are able to connect in to Christ consciousness at any moment in time when we're ready to let go of beliefs and separateness.
100%. I always believe that we're always attached to divine, God, universe, source, whatever resonates with you. That story is just beautiful because all it takes is to experience something, to realize that you really aren't ever alone. Your guides and loved ones, God, universe, source is always with you, always guiding you. That was beautiful, Marvin.
Yeah. To take it even deeper, you're actually connected to a soul group, and the soul group is sending through your soul your desires. You're not, you come up with a desire. That's not your desire. That is the desire that has been put into your consciousness that now you play out. You're playing it out for a reason. When you think in terms of everything, every person, every experience is an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself.
Yeah.
When you can get to that place and then take responsibility for errors in perspective, errors in perception, errors in how you think and believe, well, then you can make changes in your life. One of my fun things to do is like I was in a aerobics class that I do 3 times a week. And this lady, this little girl or young girl was trying to twisting her shoulder. I said, "What's wrong with your shoulder?" She says, "Oh, I think it hurts. It's kind of frozen." I said, "Well, what's the belief that you need to hold on to that?" You see, whatever's going on in the body, you're going to have a belief that's attached to why you have it.
Right.
Whether it's an illness or disease, whether it's created from your DNA, doesn't make any difference. It's teaching you something.
Yes, there's lessons everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And our body knows more than we think it does.
Well, the subconscious knows more for certain.
For sure.
It's a million times more powerful than your thinking mind. It
Right.
almost makes you want to quit using it.
It does.
I was talking to a client earlier today before our podcast. I just told her, look, she was having trouble with friends and getting along with
Yeah.
people. I said, and she's really highly intelligent. She's a veterinarian and she's got a little Aquarian energy, which can be a little cold or standoffish. I said, well, you're an intellect. You're trying to relate to people at your level instead of just relating to people as they are. Just let people be who they are.
Yeah.
Just relate to the God that is in everyone. You don't have to relate to them as you relate to yourself.
Yes.
Then you can enjoy people. I said, open your heart, just like you do with your veterinarian service.
Right.
Enjoy people for whoever they are. You don't have to fix them, which means
Yeah.
you certainly don't have to analyze, evaluate, or judge them. Just let them be who they are and enjoy them for the God that's in them, regardless of what life they're leading.
Yes. Wonderful. This work that you do is so fascinating. How you blend the two modalities into one is very unique. I don't think I've ever heard of it. And I'm so happy that you're on the podcast talking about it because this is such a two subjects alone are very fascinating and you're intertwining them into one. But I do want to go touch back on the woman that you were working with and her auric fields. I haven't touched too much on the auric field with my listeners, but when you were talking about how you sat her in front of the mirror to see her auric field, can you explain that a little bit more for people? Because
Well,
I feel like we could all see our auric fields. Sometimes I think people just get too much in the mind part of it.
well, I put her in a magic mirror.
Oh, a magic mirror. Okay.
That was a construct of her mind.
I got it. Okay.
Okay. When I had her look at her auric field, I just have her see herself in that mirror as
Yeah.
an energy because we're all energy.
Yes.
Then
Everything is energy.
I have her tell me colors that she sees in that energy. And then I listen to the colors. And then I have her tell me the impurities that she sees in the energies. I mean, is it darkness? Is it black? Is it something looks out of place? Even is there an attachment?
Yeah.
Because that's a very real thing. I had one attachment that I found. The way you deal with attachments is give a voice. What's its name?
Oh,
Then you
okay.
talk to it by name, and I ask it, when did it attach to this soul? I had it tell me 3 lifetimes ago it made a pact with it. I said, well,
Wow.
it now wants to break the pact. Will you leave on your own, or do I need to call in the Heavenly Mother of Love and the white light of angels and have you wrapped up in a golden net and taken away?
Wow.
It left on its own.
Okay, so my last question for the day, Marvin, is what do you want listeners to walk away from this conversation? I ask this to all my guests because I just want everybody to leave with something that comes from you, comes from your soul.
Well, it's like I told my last client, you're always greater. Spirit can do more for you than you can do for yourself. So drop
Yeah.
your ambition. Let life unfold. Live it event at a time. And you must believe you are far, far greater than you think you are. You are all Christ consciousness in a human world. Enjoy it.
Beautiful words, Marvin. Thank you so much for today. Where can people find you and your
They can get me at soulfusionhealing.com and they can reach me at astromarv.com for astrology. And they can reach me at BL Hypnosis, that's Better Life Hypnosis.com. And you can put Marvin in front of them and reach me by email. And
Perfect.
my book My book is on Amazon.
Perfect, Marvin. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was so fascinating. I hope all my listeners got some information out of it because alone I find astrology very fascinating, but intertwining, like I said, the hypnotherapy is amazing. Thank you again, Marvin, for coming on the podcast and talking about your work.
Well, thank you, Cristina, for having me and having such good questions to ask me to trigger my mind.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Lovely souls. Have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day.